Caitlin Clark got a little get back at Kelsey Plum.
She was taking a shot.
Could not help but to drag Caitlin Clark through the glass as she did it.
0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
The WNBA is on a hot streak. They're finally turning a corner.
Kelsey Plum.
Why do you take a shot at the goal?
What just happened 2 minutes ago has the entire WNBA shaking, and Kelsey Plum is probably crying somewhere right now because Caitlin Clark just absolutely obliterated her with the most savage, calculated takedown we've ever seen in women's basketball. I'm literally still processing this because what Clark just did wasn't just revenge. It was a masterclass in how to destroy someone who tried to drag you through the mud. And honey, Plum got buried. Before we dive into this nuclear explosion of drama, smash that like button if you're Team Caitlin 100%. Because after what I'm about to tell you, there's no way you can be on Plum's side anymore.
You have sore losers and you have sore winners. And Kelsey Plum is both.
We want to blow them out. We're a lot better than them.
We're watching for the league. We're really watching for Caitlin Clark. Everyone's going to be making more because of Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark is the one bringing in the numbers.
Well, there's one that moved.
Let me take you back to where this all started, because this isn't just some random beef. This is about jealousy, sabotage, and one woman's desperate attempt to dim the brightest star the WNBA has ever seen. It all began at the WNBA All-Star game, which should have been a celebration of unity and women's basketball excellence, but instead turned into the most toxic display of jealousy we've witnessed in sports. The players were pushing their pay us what you owe us movement, demanding higher compensation from the league, which, honestly, fair enough, these women deserve their money. But here's where Kelsey Plum showed her true colors and made the biggest strategic mistake of her career. At the press conference, with cameras rolling and the entire basketball world watching, Plum decided to throw shade at Caitlin Clark without even having the courage to say her name directly.
Tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
Or her actually making comments about Caitlin Clark's team not being at this meeting for the CBA negotiation.
Plum took a shot at Caitlin Clark during that whole thing about Team Clark wasn't very present for that.
To me, I thought that was a little dig at Caitlin. A lot of people definitely thought so.
Plum, she was taking a shot at Caitlin Clark's situation involving the pay us what you owe us shirt.
Couldn't help but to say that Caitlin Clark didn't join in on the T-shirt discussion.
This week they wore T-shirts saying, making a statement, you better pay us. But instead of just leaving it at that, Kelsey Plum for LA had to take a dig at Caitlin Clark. Here she is.
The T-shirt, just United Front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
She made this loaded statement about how 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that, referring to the salary negotiations and player activism. Can you believe the audacity? She literally singled out the one person who has brought more attention, money, and success to the WNBA than anyone in the league's 28-year history, and tried to paint her as selfish and unsupportive of her fellow players. The manipulation was so obvious, so calculated, and so incredibly stupid that even people who weren't basketball fans could see right through it. But here's what makes this even more infuriating. Clark wasn't even playing in the All-Star game. She was recovering at home, dealing with her own situation, and had absolutely no obligation to be there making symbolic gestures to prove she supports player rights. The woman has literally transformed the entire landscape of women's basketball, brought millions of new fans to the sport, and single-handedly made the WNBA profitable for the first time ever. And Plum has the nerve to question her commitment? The disrespect was astronomical, but what happened next was even better. The reaction was immediate and brutal. You could literally see Sabrina Ionescu's face during that press conference. The secondhand embarrassment was written all over her expression as she realized what Plum had just done. Sports analyst Stacey King didn't hold back, calling out how stupid it was to throw shade at the Golden Goose. And he was absolutely right. The numbers don't lie, people. Since Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, viewership has skyrocketed. Merchandise sales have exploded, ticket prices have gone through the roof, and expansion team fees jumped from $50 million to $250 million overnight. This woman is the league's leverage in salary negotiations, and Plum just publicly attacked their biggest asset. But here's where Caitlin Clark proved she's not just a basketball genius. She's a strategic mastermind who plays chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Instead of firing back with some messy public statement or getting into a social media war, Clark chose the power move of all power moves, strategic silence. She let her success do the talking, continued dominating headlines without even being on the court, and waited for the perfect moment to strike back. And when that moment came, it was absolutely devastating. Right after this controversy, Clark announced a massive global partnership with Nike, proving once again that brands will literally fight each other to be associated with her name. While Plum was trying to tear her down, Clark was building her empire even higher. But the real knockout punch came when Clark saw Plum posting photos from a Nike event. Remember, Plum is sponsored by Under Armour, Nike's competitor. And Clark left the most perfectly calculated comment that had the entire internet losing their minds. "Thank you for the Nike ad," Clark commented. And let me tell you, the internet exploded. This wasn't just shade, this was surgical precision destruction. With 4 simple words, Clark exposed the complete irony of an Under Armour athlete promoting Nike events while standing in the shadow of Nike's biggest basketball star. The comment got thousands of likes instantly, went viral across every platform, and had basketball fans absolutely dying at how effortlessly Clark had flipped the script. Plum tried to embarrass Clark and ended up getting completely exposed for her jealousy and pettiness. What makes this even more beautiful is that Clark has continued to dominate every single headline, every conversation, and every business decision in women's basketball without even trying. She's front and center in every major WNBA discussion. Brands are literally throwing money at her, and she's earning over $1 million in endorsements, while some veterans are still struggling for recognition. The corporate world sees what the petty players refuse to acknowledge. Clark is the future, the present, and the reason their sport is finally getting the respect and money it deserves. Meanwhile, Kelsey Plum has been completely silent since that Instagram comment, probably realizing she picked a fight with someone who operates on a completely different level. The woman who tried to paint Clark as selfish and unsupportive got schooled by someone who understands that real power doesn't need to scream. It just needs to exist and let the results speak. Clark's influence is so massive that even her subtle social media interactions become front-page news, while Plum's attempts at relevance fall flat. But this goes so much deeper than just individual drama between 2 players. What we're witnessing is a systematic attempt by some WNBA veterans to contain and control Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise, and it's backfiring spectacularly. Before Clark entered the league, the WNBA was struggling with low ratings, minimal media coverage, and expansion fees that were a fraction of what they are now. Games were played in near-empty arenas, merchandise barely sold, and the league had never turned a profit in its entire existence. Then Clark arrived, and everything changed overnight. Suddenly, WNBA games were beating MLB and NHL in viewership. Jersey sales exploded. Ticket prices skyrocketed. Television deals worth billions of dollars were signed. Expansion team fees increased by 400%. Every single positive metric in women's basketball can be traced directly back to Clark's influence. Yet some players and league officials seem determined to dim her light instead of embracing the success she's brought. The jealousy is so obvious it's almost embarrassing to watch. There are subtle digs in interviews, side eyes caught on camera, locker room tensions, and different treatment standards that make it clear some people are uncomfortable with how quickly Clark has transformed their sport. But here's what they don't understand. Clark's success lifts everyone. The increased viewership, higher salaries, better facilities, private jets instead of budget airlines, and mainstream media attention benefits every single player in the league. The ultimate irony is that the same people demanding higher pay are attacking the person who made those higher salaries possible. Clark's arrival brought the eyeballs, the sponsors, the media deals, and the cultural relevance that gives the WNBA actual leverage in negotiations. She is their bargaining chip, their golden ticket, their path to the financial security they've been fighting for their entire careers. And some of them are too blinded by jealousy to see it. What Caitlin Clark has done throughout this entire situation proves why she's not just a great basketball player. She's a natural-born leader who understands power dynamics better than people twice her age. Instead of getting dragged into petty feuds, she's focused on building her brand, securing her future, and elevating women's basketball to heights nobody thought possible. She's turned every attack into an opportunity, every piece of hate into fuel for greater success. The public has already crowned Clark as their champion, independent of whatever politics exist within the league. Fans see through the manufactured drama and recognize authentic greatness when they see it. They understand that Clark didn't ask for this attention. She earned it through incredible talent, work ethic, and a basketball IQ that transcends the sport itself. She's built different, as they say, and no amount of jealousy or sabotage is going to change that. As we watch this saga continue to unfold, remember that we're witnessing history. This isn't just about basketball drama. It's about what happens when authentic talent meets manufactured controversy, when generational greatness encounters establishment resistance, and when someone plays the long game while everyone else is focused on short-term pettiness. The hate isn't going to stop her. If anything, it's only making her stronger and more determined to prove that class, talent, and intelligence will always triumph over jealousy and pettiness. Kelsey Plum learned that lesson the hard way, and something tells me she won't be the last one to underestimate the power of Caitlin Clark.